The Golfbet Roundtable here for your picks and predictions for the Sony Open in Hawaii. Can Hideki Matsuyama really go back-to-back on the PGA Tour? You got to realize it's happened more times than you think on tour recently. But Benny Betts is here to tell you there's a weird intangible that he won't do it.
That's right. I'll tell you this right from the start. Hideki Matsuyama, he's in Honolulu just for the food. He's here for the restaurants. He's going to be just gorging himself on all the great food that you can get in Oahu. That's why he goes there. He might be a little distracted while he goes to play the Sony Open in Hawaii. You heard it here first.
Last time I checked, he did win this tournament a couple years ago, right, Ben? I think he ate some pretty good sushi then, too. And certainly you can't question the form after setting a PGA Tour record. 35 under, Chris. I think he may have made one or two birdies in the time it's taken us to tape this intro.
And last time I checked, you're allowed to enjoy food and still win on tour the same week as well. Here's the list just recently of players in the last 4 years alone who have won back-to-back weeks, not events, weeks on the PGA Tour. It's surprising because you don't assume a guy's going to go into the following week with his head completely in the game, but the stats are telling us otherwise with Hideki here.
Yeah, we've got 6 instances here since 2021. You go all the way back to 2000, and you have 17 players combining for 28 times this has happened. As you mentioned, Chris, you don't often see guys teeing it up the following week. You think to instances like 2023 where you had it happen twice around the playoffs. Last year, you had Scheffler win a major into a signature event. He also won a signature event before the Players. So there are some instances of the calendar and of the schedule where it makes it easier to happen than others. And this is certainly one of them. You have so many of those guys. If you're already out in Hawaii, if you were on the invite list for the Century, you're probably going to hang out and play this week at Waialae. So it presents the Aloha Double. We've seen it happen a couple times before, most recently Justin Thomas back in 2017. So listen, he's primed, he's ready, but only one guy in the field this week has a chance to go back-to-back, and that is certainly Hideki.
Yeah, of course, the other guy to do that Aloha Double was Ernie Els back in 2003. So only those two that I can think of that have done that. That is obviously history that's working against Hideki, if you will. But yeah, you're right. A lot of guys have done it, mostly Tiger Woods. He did it quite a few times, and Scheffler last year, you mentioned he did it 2 times into majors or out of majors. I'm interested to see. I do still think the food's an issue, boys. I know you guys are laughing at me, but I've been there in person with Hideki a few times. I've seen him go absolutely to town on the smorgasbord, the sushi. He loves it. Instead of spending those extra hours on the range that we usually see him, he's extra hours in the sushi restaurants and just going to town. So, look, he might just be a little slow out of the blocks. I'm not saying he can't win, but plus 900 to win, then you're taking a big risk there if he's feeling a little on the heavy side.
How much sushi do you think he ate last week when he made 7,000 birdies? What, do you think he was like eating hamburgers and Arby's at Maui? The guy, he's probably doing okay on dinner last week too, and it didn't seem to weigh him down.
All right,
I'm telling you, he spends his year. He talks around it. He plans out which nights he's going to be where. I mean, I don't know the name of one of the restaurants. Is so fancy that it like fits 6 people in it at a time.
Try to pronounce it for us, please.
That
Can
over
you please?
2 of the weeks. No, that's not. I don't know the name of that one. There's a few others that are out there that I can say. I know the only one I know how to say is Aloha, the Aloha Table. I know that he goes there every now and then. But yeah, look, he's going to be out and about enjoying himself. He's going to celebrate the win rather than be fully focused, if you will, in those early few days. And we know Hideki's a stickler for preparation. So I think he'll just be a little off on that prep.
Let's do this, guys. Let's look at some DraftKings markets of Hideki Matsuyama and what you are comfortable betting on this week. If he's going to be too full to putt at plus 900 to win, what would you take on this board, Will, of comfortability in making a bet successful with Hideki?
I think top 20 is successful. I don't love laying 165 for a place market across 72 holes. So I would be drawn to top Asian at plus 190. My thought being, if he's going to catch that ticket, he's probably going to have to be in the top 10. So you're getting better odds for approximately the same finish as you would for plus 125 there for a top 10. So yes, there could be that inside straight that you're drawn against, but maybe he finishes T7 and Ben On finishes T3 or wins the event, where you wouldn't get his top finisher market to come through. But of those 5 prices there, as Ben said, I'm not running to the window at plus 900, even though he has all the form in the world and he has the Waialae connection. Outside of that win in 2022, he has not finished inside the top 10 at this tournament. So it's not quite a feast or famine situation, but it's one where he's not quite as regular of a contender at this tournament like some other players we've seen, and I'm sure we'll talk about Corey Connors, Russell Henley, that been on over the last couple of years as well. Some of these guys are routinely inside the top 10. That's not the Hideki game plan. I think a lot of people are going to be drawn to that win from a couple of years ago. You're getting everything, and its brother is baked into the price. The premium is significant on trying to bet Hideki the week after breaking the tour scoring record. So they're not the eye-catching prices that I'm like, yes, let me get, let's do a ladder play with all these. But of the group there, Ben, I want to know your thoughts, but I'll take the plus 190 at top Asian.
I don't like any of them, to be honest. And this is again, I did witness Justin Thomas going really low at Sentry and then coming out to Sony and starting with a 59. So it's doable, obviously, that he can come out and go low and keep that running. I would agree with you, Will, on the top Asian thing, except spoiler alert, I think the winner is a different Asian, so I can't go into that market.
There you go.
Top 20, perhaps, but terrible odds. Like I'm not putting a bunch on that. I worry, and you'll see, look, all kidding aside, while the food is a small factor, Hideki led the field in strokes gained putting when he won at Sony. Every other year, he's been outside the top 50 in putting on that course, including the last two, and has not necessarily performed as well because of it. I'd love to trust that he's going to fill up the hole like he did last week. If he truly has turned the putting stats around, then we're up for a big year from Hideki Matsuyama, a huge year, to be honest. But I'm not ready to trust that yet.
2 quick points, Chris, before I throw the ball back to you. If Hideki putts like he did last week, he's going to win 17 times this year. Like that's he's going to be absolutely unstoppable. So I don't know where the putting's going to net out, but if he does what he did last week, no one's going to touch him. But the other thing that we should probably talk about as you look at the overall handicap of the Sony Open is it's hard to think of two more disparate courses than Waialae and Kapalua, because they are just absolutely on opposite ends of the spectrum. Kapalua, you've got these huge greens, biggest on tour. You've got these, undulating, hilly slopes of fairways. Waialae is as flat of a walk as you can get. I think it's 5 feet elevation change from 1 to 18. Cozy confines, super tall, super small greens. It requires a different skill set. We have seen some overlap. You've seen, as we said, a couple players have won both places, including now Hideki. But it does, test a different part of your game. It's a testament to guys like Hideki and Justin Thomas that they're well-rounded enough to be able to win at both places. But this is not at all the same test that we saw last week at Century.
There are a few guys too a few times last week where Hideki lost the ball off the tee. That if it was anywhere else but Kapalua, he would have lost the ball outright. Like it would have been gone. Including on the 17th hole, was that Saturday or Saturday, I believe.
Saturday.
Where it hit the cart path twice. He got super lucky it didn't go into the junk there, and that was a 3,000-yard wide fairway. So there are a few times that have me worried that if he does get a loose shot in, he's going to be punished a little bit more than he was obviously over there in Maui.
Let's say you subscribe to the theory that Hideki's there to play sommelier in Honolulu. Okay, here's your other top winners to win. Both these guys, Will and Ben, have a winner on this list. Benny, bet start with you.
Yeah, Byeong Hun. Look, I really think that, he was a runner-up there last year in the playoff. He got unlucky not to win. He's proven that he likes the course. He was, I think, T12 the year before that. Had a good finish to the year on the PGA Tour. A lot of solid finishes without winning. Obviously, still hasn't won on tour, but did win in Korea late last year as well, which will get him back into a good frame of mind. He's gained over 2 strokes per round on the field in the last 8 rounds at Waialae Country Club. I think it's really time for him to take a step up and do this. And I think, he's inspired by what Hideki did last week. I've talked about this before, even if they don't play on the international team, but international eligible players out of a President's Cup, for some reason, win tournaments. Hideki won last week. Byeong Hun, he could be next.
He's going to be there for sure. I mean, I think everything you've outlined shows that he has the game to tackle Waialae. I put him in with this group, and we talked about it with Maverick McNealy at the RSM last year. It's hard for me to bank on guys to get that first win. I know he's won on the DP World Tour. He's won their flagship event, but he's had so many chances on the PGA Tour and has come up short, including last year in the playoff. Hard for me to look at him in an outright. I'm much more keen on going to a top 5 or a top 10. But you're right, the skill set is there. and definitely got to watch this week.
Could you say?
I'm going a different way though.
Yeah. Well, could you say the same thing about your winner?
4 wins. It's been about
He loves
8
it.
years now.
He loves this bloke. He loves this bloke.
He does.
I do. Listen, for a Gator to have a soft spot for a Georgia Bulldog, it takes something. But listen, 17 straight rounds in the 60s at Waialae. Listen, if you
That's
shoot
amazing.
68, you're gonna get lapped. It's a par 70 layout where there's a lot of red scores, but that shows how consistent Russell Henley is overall, and then also at this course. Listen, I'm old enough and have been doing this long enough to remember his win in 2013 when he came out of the blocks. No one knew him from Adam. He was in his first tour start as a member, and he just blitzed the field, ended up winning that tournament, and it really vaulted his career. But over the last 3 years, he has 2 top 5 finishes and is just so rock solid consistent. If I'm building a template for how to tackle Waialae, I want accurate off the tee, I want really precise irons, and I want someone that can get hot with the putter. That's Russell Henley. That's all I need. And if those pieces are working as they have often over the last couple of years at Waialae, that man's going to be on the leaderboard come Sunday.
Yeah, I'm annoyed that his odds are as low as they are because it sort of takes him out of the place market, scenario. That's where I feel like you could feel very comfortable, but at the same time, you're not getting the juice that you probably need in a place market. So I wish I could argue more with Will's pick, but I can't at this stage. And I think he'll obviously get plenty of confidence out of the end of last year as well.
Yeah, third shortest odds of anybody in this field behind Connors and Hideki. If we're going to talk about putting, Maverick McNealy proved, guys, he proved he can putt. He proved he can win. I'm going to subscribe to the thought that McNealy got that monkey off his back at the RSM when he won. And a guy who we all know has a ton of talent, but can he mentally put it together? I think this is a kind of week where he still feels fresh about the confidence in his game when he wins in November. I think he's got the tee game for it. He's got the around the green game for it. Is he going to be able to make the putts? It's probably a trendy pick, guys, but I know you both, maybe not so much winning the event, you guys feel like he's going to do pretty well this week too.
Oh, for sure. I mean, in our expert picks on PGATour.com, we get 2 arrows to fire, and my second arrow after Russell Henley is Maverick McNealy. I definitely think that this win at RSM that we're seeing in these highlights is going to be a watershed moment for him. This is a launching point. I would put it akin to what Will Zalatoris might have done after that Memphis win if he didn't get hurt. I really think that this is going to be the start of something big for McNealy. He played really well last week at Kapalua. He had known that course a little bit, but it was still his first start in the tournament, and I think that really speaks to being able to put a T8 finish out in his first start of the year after that quick turn from winning at Sea Island. And this is a course where he's had some success as well at T7 a couple years ago, 3 for 3, making the cut. And Chris, as you outlined, when we look at the composite of what type of player succeeds at Waialae, it is a lot of what Maverick McNealy does well. So yeah, I think this is going to be another big week for him, and I do think that he's going to win sometime in 2025 on tour.
Benny, you going top 5 or top 10?
No, he's not my second arrow, but he's a prop bet for me too in group betting, where players get matched up against 4 other guys. And I do think that Mav is looking good in his group there. So I believe, as everything you guys said, if I do worry about one little thing, it's I haven't really seen what he's going to be like when the expectation is that he is going to play well. Right? We know that we've always had that monkey. He's had that monkey on the back, like you said, Chris, where, he can't win, he can't contend, he's going to fade. Well, now this is the first time where he's being talked up to win, he's being talked up to contend, he's expected to do well. How does he react to that? We'll see.
If you're not going to go top 5, top 10 for Mav, if you just want to do the group of 5, that's fine, Ben. Your other prop bet, top 10 for Chris Kirk?
Yes, absolutely. A former champion at Kapalua there, but now he is also a really good contender through the past years at the Sony Open. He probably should have won it once or twice. He's had a couple of runner-ups, a third, I believe, and just has the game that plays well there. I think that we're forgetting or sleeping on him a bit because, he didn't pop up last week so much in his title defense. But really, I remember last year, I was all set to pick Chris Kirk for this event before he went and won Sony.
And then he won.
Before he went and won Century. And when he won the Century, I had to eject off it because I didn't, again, expect someone to go back-to-back in the Aloha double. So I just think you're getting really good odds there. You're getting 55 to 1 as an outright as well, which is, my second outright dart that Will spoke about. I think that people are sleeping on him. I think you're getting good juice. I think Chris Kirk can perform at Sony like he has in the past.
I hope his.
I totally agree. I think that he's someone that we can watch for. Listen, I'm picking a different Georgia guy, but this is anytime you have someone that has that correlated success of playing well in Hawaii, playing well at the Century, going to the Sony. I see what you're getting at, Benny.
Lots of Georgia on the mind this week, Will.
Well, now I'm going to
I like
Florida
this
State,
guy.
which even hurts even more. All right, so listen, we got to do a little bit of inside baseball here. For the fans at home, get acquainted with the PGA Tour University Accelerated Program, because that is where we find our friend and amateur Luke Clanton, who absolutely torched the FedEx Cup fall. He was playing so well at the end of the 2024 season. Maybe should have won the RSM, just had that short putt that would have got him into a playoff with Maverick McNealy. So Luke Clanton needs 3 points in the PGA Tour U Accelerated to get a full-fledged PGA Tour card. And that, my friends, is a top 5 finish this week. So when we look at, if you bet on the NFL last week, you look through all those, wide receiver and quarterback incentives, and you try to correlate those into, their props for yardage. This is absolutely an incentive that Luke Clanton is going to have on his mind if he's in contention going Sunday or Saturday into Sunday. A top 5 is meaningful to him versus a T8 or a T12. If he finishes inside the top 5 this week, he's going to be a PGA Tour member next week. And so at plus 600, I think it's a great price. He had 4 top 10s last year in the back half of 2024. He certainly has the game to contend. He played well at Wyndham, played well at Sea Island. He really seems like he has it. And so I think we're going to see a lot more of Luke Clanton this year, and it would not surprise me to see his name on the leaderboard once again this week at Waialae.
There are plenty of judges who suggest that Clanton is a significantly better golfer than Nick Dunlap, who won twice on tour last year, including as an amateur. So with that, I mean, I'm not necessarily going to make that judgment. I don't know either of them well enough, their games well enough to go down that rabbit hole, but enough big names suggest that he is better. And as I said, Dunlap won twice on tour last year. So if you're saying that's the standard that he's better than, then you definitely have to watch out for this guy.
I see what you're doing, Will. You're just trying to cover all your bases on rivals of the Florida Gators and picking them this week.
Listen, we're a football school once again. Things are bright in Gainesville. We can move on.
That's a hot take, and this is a hot take too. Nick Taylor, you guys, I don't care how bad he's been since he won almost a year ago, right? Here's what I want you to focus on. The fact that a top 20, in this field, a top 20 for plus 300 odds, I really like. He had back-to-back good rounds on Saturday and Sunday at Kapalua. Let's not talk about Thursday and Friday. Hopefully he's more consistent. I think a guy who felt good on the weekend, he feels really good at Waialae. He's had, I believe, 2 T7s and a T11 here in just the last 4 years alone. You can pick this apart all you want. It's a flyer. I know he's had a horrible year, Ben, but something just feels 20th place can happen for a guy at plus 300.
Well, I'm going to say this. When I'm looking at a flyer and a guy coming back from nowhere and a top 20 market, I'm going to go towards where you hit the sleepers. And I'll give you another spoiler alert. In the sleepers column, there's a top 20 at plus 1,200 that I can throw out there for a reason to come back, who's been playing absolutely terrible. But Taylor Montgomery has been in the top 20 at the Sony 2 years in a row.
So that's who it is?
Played absolutely stinking
Wow.
terrible since. But you're using the same theory here, right? So I'm saying that your theory is all well and good, but I need bigger juice, right? I need bigger juice than 300. And at some point, Nick Taylor is going to come back. There's no doubt. It's one of those guys that he is going to turn it around. He is going to find his happy place again. Maybe it's going to be at Phoenix, where we know he's played well and won. But look, I hope for his sake that he does turn around. I hope you get this one right. I'm just not necessarily prepared to jump on a top 20 at these odds when, if I'm taking a flyer, I might as well go triple that, quadruple that.
He hopes I get it right, but he knows I won't.
Yeah.
2 thoughts here. First off, I agree with you, Chris, that when it clicked for Nick Taylor, it's going to be a top 10. It's going to be a top 20.
Yes.
A good week for him will very soon translate into these sort of results. I also can't think of Nick Taylor without thinking of how absolutely dead certain Ben and I were at TPC Sawgrass last year that he's going to win this tournament. He just won in Phoenix, and so that might we maybe need to apologize to Nick Taylor because that has been the kiss of death that the guy could not hit a barn for the next 6 months. Wasn't able to make the President's Cup team, which I know was a big blow for him being at Royal Montreal. So hopefully this will be a chance for him to turn it around because, as you said, Ben, he's got the game, he's got the chops, he's going to be back in there sooner rather than later. But it has been a surprising dip from where he was in the first quarter of 24.
At least he'll forever be the Canadian Open logo now. He is the logo man forever. They've taken that on board. And so they should have, honestly. What an awesome moment that was when he won his National Open. Look, I love the guy. He's a top bloke. I said I hope he comes back. And Chris, I do hope at some point you're on it at good odds.
We're already talking about apology tours. I thought that was so 2024.
Hey, we did well last week. If you look at our picks, boys.
Yeah, tell the folks.
I went 2 for 2 in my props. I went 2 for 2 in the props. Cam Davis at 4 over 4 was starting to worry me, but he came good, which was nice to see.
Ben went 2 for 2. I faded away from Morikawa winning, placed him top 5. That was the bank builder we talked about. Will, what'd you get?
Thomas Dietrich, top European. I had him at 1,400, so he had a dead heat with Ludwig, who come up and snuck a little bit of pocket change out of it, but still a good two-way split at 14-1, if my math is correct.
See, no apology needed in 2025.
Now, boys, it's all about getting a winner, right? We've got to get a winner. Stay away from the sushi, Hideki, and you might get the double.